Hey there. So, since today is Earth Day, I thought now would be a good time to look at this book here. So, this is Captain Planet and the Planeteers #1 from Marvel Comics back in 1991. And as we can see here at the top, it's adapted from the hit cartoon series. So, this was a tie in to the cartoon at the time. First off, here on the cover, we've got this illustration here by Neil Adams. I assume this came out of his studio at the time. I'm not sure if this was created for the cover or if this was just like promotional artwork they did for the cartoon series. Because, first off, just sort of the size of it, sort of like how it is framed here, it's not really to comic book proportions. So we have the, repeating image here with the film strip in it. So I don't know if that was just an artistic choice here or if this was a way to use the art at this scale. But I would assume the top and bottom here are a stat of the first image here in the middle. Like they duplicated it. I can't imagine they drew it 3 times like that. Down here in the corner box, we've got the villain of the book. I assume this is the direct market version of this book then, since there's no barcode, for the newsstand. I do think it's notable, too. We've got a little notice here on the cover saying it's printed on recycled paper. So, being eco-conscious here with the printing of the comic book, too. So that's on brand for what we've got here. So early 90s, so we still have the Stan Lee Presents here at the beginning of the Marvel book, like they all had back then, whether or not Stan Lee was involved with them. He usually wasn't at this point. Kind of going through the credits here, we have Barry Dutter and Jim Salicrup as the writers, and Jose Delbo as the penciler, and Mike DiCarlo as the inker. It also says here, this is adapted from a teleplay by Billy Rubin, story by Nick Boxer. So I'd assume this is adapting an episode of the cartoon. I didn't really watch Captain Planet back in the day when I was a kid. I felt like it was trying to be, educational or maybe a little too preachy. Again, this was a cartoon character created by Ted Turner. He's the one that created Captain Planet, came up with the idea. Not that you shouldn't care about the environment, but it really was sort of like a trendy cause in the early 90s to kind of latch onto. And so that's kind of what Captain Planet here comes out of. Here we have the villain, and that's the shot they use on the corner box here on the cover. This is Hoggish Greedley. And him and his sidekick here have this giant machine that seems like the only purpose is to pollute the environment. They're sort of like drilling for oil and that kind of thing. Then we see Gaia here being awoken, and so she's sort of the one that puts the team together here in the book. And, she, senses what the villains are doing here with hurting the environment. And so then we find she has these 5 rings that she sends out to 5 teenagers around the world. And so we get the sort of global cast here that we'll have in the book. And, each ring is a different power. And we kind of go through that here. And she brings the kids to her home on Hope Island here. Again, no notice. These rings are just sent out to these kids and they are absconded to this island. Seems kind of weird. There's no talk about their parents or, having to get home or anything like that. I'm surprised they didn't just say the kids were all orphans or something. Oh, well, yeah, we got ad for the Spider-Man Genesis game back in the day. So here we've got Gaia kind of explaining the powers to the kids, but not really giving them too much training here as to what they can do. And basically, anytime they say the name of the power they control, it activates it. So, Wheeler here keeps saying fire and lighting fires. So, seems like he needs a little more practice with that, or maybe, some more control. We also have some questionable Russian throughout the book here for her character. And then we also have the, I always thought dubious power of heart here. It seems to be, I feel like the implication was sort of empathy, but it almost seems like he can control people's emotions, which I feel like is maybe a more problematic power nowadays than it definitely would have been considered back then. So Kwame says he needs to practice their powers, and Gaia says there's no time. I feel like there's plenty of time. You really can't just send these kids out with these loaded guns here. So then they get this aircraft they fly off in, and she tells them, when you combine your powers, you'll be really surprised. That's definitely burying the lead here. Like, why wouldn't you tell them, hey, by the way, when you put these powers together, you're going to create a superhero that's going to show up and help save the day. So as the kids fly onto the scene here, they're attacked by the, I don't know, walking oil rig kind of thing, machine. I don't know what you would call this, but it shoots oil at their aircraft and causes it to crash. The kids, use their powers together to kind of settle on this little island here. The kids, remember, hey, guys said to combine our powers. So we get the sort of classic call here from the book where they list off Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, and Heart. And it combines here in the sky. Oh, so yeah, we got this nice X-Men ad from back in the day. So this was like a 900 number you would call up. And what was it? It was like, okay, so you fight Magneto's henchmen by pressing different keys on the phone. Oh, and you answered X-Men trivia. So yeah, nice big shot here by Eric Larson. I don't know if this was done for this ad or if they took this from something else. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is 1991, so X-Men was going big back then. We just had that X-Men #1 that had sold like 8 million copies. But back to our book here. Here's our intro to Captain Planet. Now, whenever they would draw Captain Planet like this, where he had this sort of, glass, almost like diamond-looking reflection, I always thought he kind of looked like Crystar on there. Got an old D&D ad. And then Captain Planet flies off to save the day, so he creates like a typhoon and, puts the oil back in the ground, I guess, and then throws a boulder on it to keep it there, and decides now it's time to go after Greedley. So he wrecks their machine. Oh yeah, so they hit him with the drill here on this oil rig, and he says, ha ha ha, that tickles. Now that kind of reminds me of the old Golden Age Superman cover where he's being struck by lightning and says it tickles. I doubt that's a reference to that here, but I just thought it was interesting sort of parallel there. So then he takes the henchman guy and throws him into a trash can, and Greedley uses the machine to shoot toxic waste onto Captain Planet, which we find out now is like sort of his weakness. That's, his sort of kryptonite here, which, story-wise, that makes sense. The ecological hero, can't stand up to pollution, but it's also what he's there to stop. So it seems like a weird choice practically for him. So this is, sort of a weird thing, I thought, that, the thing he's there to stop is his weakness. So then the kids go over, though, and they help clean off Captain Planet. So the kids move a boulder over in the way of the machine so it doesn't hit Captain Planet, and they clean off his emblem there, and apparently the sun charges him. So I don't know if the sun charges him through the emblem on his chest there, maybe? I don't know. Again, I didn't really watch Captain Planet back in the day. Oh yeah, so we've got this ad here for these Marvel shirts from back in the day too. I remember seeing this ad in a lot of Marvel comics back then. I don't know anybody that actually had these shirts though. Did anybody ever send off for these? I'm not sure. Surely somebody did, as much as, Marvel was selling back then. So now we have Captain Planet grabbing the walking oil rig device and saying he's going to take it out with the trash. And so he throws it. To where? Where's it going? It's just going to be a giant, thing of litter there somewhere now. So this is a machine that's already proven to be harmless or harmful to the environment. It's just going to crash somewhere. And then what? Release more oil and toxic sludge onto the environment? This is not well thought out here on the captain's part. And then Greedley just runs away. So they don't even capture him. Again, I don't know if this was part of the, hey, we're going to have these villains come back time and time again kind of thought process. But again, I feel like maybe, should have ended up in jail or something. Captain here tells them that, their work is done and reverts back to the power in their rings. And the kids, kind of finish the adventure here by cleaning up the animals, again, being, responsible. with helping the animals. And we end here with a Planeteer alert, which was the sort of PSAs they'd have at the end of the cartoon. So Captain Planet here has got some tips for kids on, maybe being more responsible about the environment and conserving resources. So he says here, you can fight oil spills and pollution and air pollution by encouraging your family not to waste gasoline and fuel oil. Yeah, kids, go tell your dad not to waste gasoline when he's filling up the car. He'll be thrilled to hear that. That's a great idea. Turn off the lights in your house when you don't need them, sure. If you're only going to a short distance, walk or ride a bike. All right. If you can carpool, do it. Who's this guy? We've never seen anybody's parents in this book. Who's this guy picking up the kids? Are they being kidnapped here? Did they think that's what carpooling is? Yeah, I don't know. And, letting people know the power is theirs here. Go Planet at the end. Meanwhile, the kids got kidnapped. Did Captain Planet save them in between panels here? I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So that's the first issue of the Captain Planet comic. Again, I wasn't really into this. I know I didn't buy this issue specifically. I was trying to remember how I even got this. I've had it for years. I think it must have been at a bundle, or maybe a pack of comics I bought from a store or something like that. I think that's how I got this. But yeah. So did you read Captain Planet, or more likely watch the cartoon back in the day? Let me know in the comments below. Do you have any good memories of Captain Planet? I know Dynamite is bringing the book back now for some reason. I don't know if there's going to be a relaunch of Captain Planet, or what's going on with that. But now's a good time to read the old book, I guess, before the new one comes out. So yeah, let me know your thoughts below in the comments, and thanks for watching. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter/X @Detective651, also on Instagram @Detective651. Be sure to check out my t-shirt store at tpublic.com/user/Detective651. I've got a lot of nerdy designs on there, and there's sales all the time, so check it out frequently. Everybody's a tree.